Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and the guy that wrote too many of these intros. You have been warned. This is Random Review.
Next up on our Earthspark Deluxe reviews, we're going to be looking at the most controversial character in the entire show. Yes, the good guy heroic version of Megatron depicted in the cartoon. I personally am enjoying the fresh take on Megatron. I'm curious as to where the character is going, but that is a matter of the cartoon. We're here to talk about the toy itself today, so that is what we are going to do. You'll excuse me if this is a little bit different than the last one. I'm having a little issue with my original camera, so I'm using just my HD webcam, which hopefully is giving you a nice clear picture of our Deluxe Megatron, though we are at the mercy of the autofocus. I will try to keep everything in frame and try to keep everything looking good. So, what we have here is this super sci-fi take on a VTOL for Megatron's vehicle mode, and I really like this take. This is just a really nice, super cool looking vehicle mode. It looks gigantic, which is one of the problems with this Deluxe class Earthspark stuff, is the scaling is completely out the door. Even amongst like the Deluxe class toys, because Twitch should not be as big as Megatron. Bumblebee should not be as big as Megatron. This guy should be huge, and in fact, I think Twitch is actually a little bit taller because this one has to be a fair bit beefier. But let's take a look at it for what it is. It is cast in this slightly blue shade of metallic gray plastic, looking very nice. It's not swirled metallic, but it's just enough to give it this kind of mechanical metal sheen that I really like. It is also has a little bit of the Megatron gray toward the rear, which is replicated in the paint on top of the vehicle mode. You can also spot little bits of silver behind the blue canopy, as well as a little bit in the back rear as well. A little bit in the front, too, as if he had headlights, which is a little bit odd, but I will take it. It actually looks like he's just like this big menacing face coming at you from the sky, which is somewhat terrifying knowing that it is a Megatron toy. So, yeah, I'm a fan of the vehicle mode. It's super clean. Like, there's no undercarriage to it whatsoever, though I think part of that is because he's just got these wings hanging out underneath his... he's got these hands and arms hanging out underneath his arms, which is not the classiest of transformations for Megatron, but hey, it's an inexpensive figure. We'll take it. You'll also notice that, yes, the canopy and the front end of the vehicle is fake. He does have a fake chest thing going on, so take that into account. But yeah, nice, smooth vehicle. Not a whole lot to say about it. Little tail fins in the rear, nothing too big. I am lacking a spot where I can actually plug him in and fly him around. I don't have a port for flying him the way I do on Twitch, which is a little bit disappointing. I can see a hole like super deep into there, but I don't think that's actually going to fit. It doesn't look like it's the right shape. Doesn't look like it's quite in reach. All right, so yeah, you're on your own trying to figure out how to stand him up for flight. Also on your own is where to actually put his cannon for the vehicle mode, because I would put it on the underside. Like, I do apologize for the autofocus. I am working with what I have here today. I would put it like right under here, but there's no way to peg it in there. The only options you have are the holes on his wings, which is a little bit unfortunate because it just looks super awkward. Just hanging out on one wing. Also, his fusion cannon on this toy is very tight, fitting into any of the holes, so be careful. You have to like twist it around to get it in, and hope you don't stress anything in the process. Here. Yeah. You hear a little pop. They'll tell you, like, yeah, that's in there quite firm. All right. So, vehicle mode. All right. It's nice enough. Oh, I should mention, those spin really well with a flick, but you cannot rotate them upward, which I think was a really big misfire on this, even at a cheap level. A little mushroom peg and an individual piece here. They could have let it move up and down. Well, semantics. This is what happens when you don't explore the toy enough before you start recording. Hey, look! The cannon splits in half and goes right on top of this vehicle mode parts. Actually, looks like it fits on here. And on here. Which gives it this like super long VTOL engine look. Alright, okay, you know what? Okay, I did this toy a misservice. I'm glad I noticed that while I'm recording, although I'm sure that didn't stop people from mentioning it in the comments. Okay, so, alright, not a bad use. Not a bad use of the fusion cannon. Still sucks that there's no proper way to mount it as a weapon component. But I do like that there is a particular use for it, though I really feel like that should have been better pointed out on the box than it was. I'm sure if I look at the box, I'll be able to see it, but hey, whatever. We got it. All right, we got it. All right, so let's take those off and we'll get this guy into robot mode, which is not going to take terribly long. He is a pretty simple transformation. First off, that panel goes up. You'll rotate all this around. That forms the legs. Yes, they are quite hollow. We'll talk about that. Flip the feet out like so, and then undo these little wing flaps. Just rotate them. They will peg themselves out of his midsection. To the top here. Unclip those and extend them out like so. You'll get them to snap into place up there. Yes, I apologize for the autofocus again. On my normal camera, this isn't an issue. Here, I can't control the focus manually. So I'm working with what I have today. This is like the struggles of doing a daily channel, is that like when this is all you have and like when you're out of time, you kind of have to work with what you got, even if what you got is not that great. But you're here for a toy opinion, so hopefully it stays stable enough to give you a good look at this. And then, finally, yep, collapse the whole thing down, which his whole torso is a slide joint in order to transform, which we don't see anymore, so I'm actually kind of surprised they did it. That's going to be our Megatron in robot mode, and what a robot mode looks like. You can definitely tell where the influence from the IDW 1.0 Megatron came from. Kind of makes sense when the same designer worked on both of them, right? But yeah, it's a simple transformation. I will tell you, when you put those cockpit pieces together for the first time, it is a struggle. Like mine were super tight trying to get those. Like the tightest a clip has ever been on a Transformer. I find it's best if you work with the front ones, the little ones at the front, and then do the back ones afterwards. Try to get that first one, like that frontmost one, in first. So yeah, it can be done, but it's tricky, and it does get easier after the first time you manage to make the connection. So there. So what we have is a 5-inch Megatron that, as I said, is wildly out of scale. Here, let me quickly bring Twitch back in here just so we can get the quick little comparison here. Then, yeah. Twitch with her loose hips actually has just a little bit of height on Megatron, which is not appropriate. This is where I really wish the kid sizes had, like, what we have, the Deluxe, the Voyager, the Leader class, because there's some toys here that just should be bigger. And it's a real disservice, and I would say this about Cyberverse as well, where the Deluxes, there's some that have a lot of merit to them, and some are really good, but you just don't get really strong toys out of them because they do weird things like this. So, looking at him, he still has that slightly blue metallic gray going on to him, giving this very heavy metal look to him. A lot of red paint has been exposed, bringing that classic color in. And yeah, he has this nice form, build, and proportion to him for a Megatron. Let's take a look. Yeah, and he does have this kind of neutral, slightly grumpy face going on, but he does not resonate like the traditional evil Megatron. I think part of that comes from the downward slope of his helmet over his eyes. He doesn't come across like, he doesn't have this angry eyebrow look to him. You know, he definitely has like a characterful face, which I think is the strength of the Earthspark toys so far. Also on the chest, you can see the Ghost emblem painted on with a super tiny Decepticon decal right there at the very bottom. But yeah, he comes across really, really nice. You can see where the silver on the shoulders has ended up from the vehicle mode, as well as more on the chest. Just making a little bit of color pop to him. I kind of like the silver on the chest. It's kind of harkening back to like the old like metallic chest that the original G1 toy Megatron had. Nice little touch there. The skirt hips for those extra wings from the vehicle mode, those work out nicely. You can see the pelvis has been painted the gunmetal gray that's across from him. And yeah, very traditional Megatron legs going on here. Yes, they are very hollow because of how the transformation works. And on these cheaper lines, yeah, you're not going to see panels to open and close to cover this up. It's not a terribly big deal for me because I know what I paid for these. So I'm not going to get that extra mile that I'm going to get out of a Generations figure. I know that going in, so it's not something that is worth complaining about here. Could it have been done better? Yes. Could it have been done better at his price point? Probably not. Not with today's prices. All right, let's get his fusion cannon on him because it's not Megatron without a fusion cannon. So we will recombine those two components, get his full fusion cannon going again. I like the design on this fusion cannon, by the way. Now, this is tricky. So in order to not pop this whole thing off of its swivel, you have to do not hold the arm, hold the side, hold the wing, and then push and twist the cannon into place. Otherwise, you're going to, and do the same thing when you're pulling the cannon out of the arm. Otherwise, you're going to risk damaging some of the components that hold that wing together. So I'm not a terribly big fan of how he looks with the fusion cannon in place here, largely because he actually has, I don't like, and I've seen Megatrons do this in the past, and I still hate it. I don't like when there's something between the fusion cannon and his forearm because it makes it look like it's sticking out way too far. So that's a little bit of a downside here, but it's okay. It's not like breaking it for me. It's not breaking for me. So let's actually go into the important part, which is the articulation. The head is on a ball joint, so it does have some up and down to it, as well as full rotation. Shoulders are a little bit awkward, so they do have a ball joint on the inside of the shoulders, but he doesn't have a whole lot of like range with it because of how bulky his shoulder is. You can compensate with the transformation joint, but it is limiting. Like from here, like I can't move his arm outward. So if I have like a pose where like I want him to like be looking at someone, somewhat to his left, I can't raise his arm or move his arm to like point at him unless I do that. And that just looks silly. That just looks bad. See, nothing at the bicep, but the ball-jointed elbow does give him rotation at the forearm as well as a 90-degree bend. Nothing at the waist, thanks to the slide transformation. Full ball-jointed hips, so those work pretty well. 360 degrees at the thigh swivel. Very deep knee bend. Love to see that. And he does have the ankle tilt. Hey, can't be a bad figure because he's got ankle tilt, right? So yeah, so he's doing a lot of weird things, and there's some limitations to how he works. But overall, like, it's not a bad Megatron toy. Like, for the price point they're going for, yeah, he works out pretty well. Now, for his Build-A-Figure part, he does come with Mandroid's left arm, and I feel like if any character is appropriate for coming with a severed human arm, it's probably Megatron. So that's going to be your piece again. But that is my take on Earthspark Megatron. As a simplified deluxe, as we've seen in these kids' lines, it's fine. It's got some hollowness and it's got some weirdness to its shoulders. I think the overall look and the design makes up for it because it's a really cool look. But there is some oddness, especially if you put it next to your other Earthspark Deluxes, or Cyberverse Deluxes now that I think about it, because it's going to look a little bit weird. So brace yourself for that, but if you just want a nice, clean, transforming representation of the current Megatron, yeah, it's not bad. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.